Hi. Today I'm going to read A Deadly Eclair, the first French bistro mystery. I'm very excited. Bonjour, Mimi. Heather Holmes, a lanky blonde in her 40s with huge wide eyes and long curly tresses, breezed into Bistro Rousseau. She screeched to a halt. Whoa! I stared at the chaos in the center of my restaurant. Well, it was almost mine. It bore my maiden name. I would own it when I paid off my benefactor. Knock on wood. What happened? Heather asked. What do you mean? I didn't know we had tornadoes in Napa Valley. Very funny. For the past hour, I'd been rearranging the tables. In my haste, I had toppled a few of the cane-backed chairs. Heather's giggles sounded so much like wind chimes, I was pretty sure an angel had just gotten its wings. Actually, I like the way you've set things up. She shimmied down the hem of her slinky black dress. It must have twisted up on her 10-minute drive to work. Très intimate. Heather didn't have a wide French vocabulary. I didn't care. She was a wonderful hostess and assistant. Perfect for a wedding. The wedding was exactly why I was rearranging. We were hosting our very first out-of-towners dinner for our very first wedding party. Bistro Rousseau, which was located in Nouvelle Vie, an unincorporated enclave in Napa Valley, north of Yountville and south of St. Helena, which boasted upscale eateries, inns, jazz clubs, and high-end shops, had only been open 3 months. We were growing in popularity, but my benefactor and mentor, Mr. Baker, Brian, said that in order to make a splash, we needed to open the restaurant and Maison Rousseau. Yes, I almost owned an inn, too. To destination weddings, and he knew just the celebrity who would want to book one. Angelica Barrington, the 30-something talk show hostess of Everybody Loves Angelica fame, was his niece. Brian and Angelica's father, a winemaker in the county, were half-brothers. Same mother, different fathers. After Brian had spent 20 minutes boasting about how wonderful Angelica was, I agreed. Honestly, how could I refuse? I had seen her on a celebrity cooking show wielding kitchen tools like a pool. After Brian had spent 20 minutes boasting about how wonderful Angelica was, I agreed. Honestly, how could I refuse? I had seen her on a celebrity cooking show wielding kitchen utensils like a pro and instantly felt like she and I could be kindred spirits. The wedding ceremony would be held tomorrow, Saturday, in the inn's beautiful courtyard. Oh, how I wanted everything to be perfect. Needless to say, my stomach was in knots and my almost restaurant was a mess. Do you want me to set up the wine glasses? Heather asked as she stowed her purse in the safe that was tucked into the teensy coat room. That would be great. The restaurant was small, but the many mirrors on the walls gave it a larger feeling and reflected the warm twinkle from the lights in the bronze-finished candelabra-style chandeliers. The focal point, where Heather would set up the tasting, was a hand-carved pub-style mahogany bar I had imported from France. Brian said, "Go big or don't go at all." I wasn't accustomed to going big, but this time I had, and I was thrilled. Then help me fold the linens and put the silverware out, I said. Later I'll gather flowers for the crystal table vases and floral arrangements from the garden. You know, Heather said, seeing the chaos, I thought for a second that they had come looking for me. They being aliens. She claimed they had abducted her on numerous occasions. It seemed to happen around this time of year, during June, when the weather in Napa Valley was pitch perfect, not too hot and not too cold, and the thriving vineyards and fertile orchards were at their greenest pre-harvest. Glonkirks, Heather called her abductors. I wasn't sure if she was pulling my leg. I mean, come on. I'd watched Star Trek reruns. None of it was true. Was it? Heather related her experiences in exotic, and I mean ultra-exotic detail. True confession, I enjoyed the stories. They were fanciful, and I could use a dose of fanciful every once in a while. When do they arrive? She asked. They, this time meaning the wedding party. Around 4 p.m., I said. Joe will greet them, get them set up in their rooms, and direct them here around 6. Jorianne James, a.k.a. Joe, was my best friend from childhood, and she was the reason I knew Brian Baker. Long story short, a year ago I left San Francisco, where I had worked as a sous chef and then chef for nearly 14 years, and returned home with my tail between my legs to live with my mother. Quickly, I landed a job as a Monday-Tuesday chef at a decent restaurant, but I blew that off when Joe introduced me to Brian Baker, a longtime friend of her father's. Brian was a local entrepreneur in his mid-60s who loved to help young people with promise. His many success stories included an art gallery owner, a vintner, a cheesemaker, and a dress designer. Somehow, I qualified. A few days after our first meeting, Brian informed me that he had purchased a bistro and the bed and breakfast next to the bistro. For me. Both places were in desperate need of repair. The front and rear patios begged for inspiration, but he would help me get the properties on their feet. Afterward, it was up to me to make them soar. I was terrified, but Brian set me straight. Big risks reap big rewards. Thank you for joining me today while reading A Deadly Eclair, the first French bistro mystery. I hope you enjoyed it. If you'd like to know more about the book or me, check out the links below, and you can find my website. Anyway, thanks for tuning in. I look forward to seeing you next time.